Okay, so welcome everybody. Lovely to see you. And thank you for coming along. This is the Bromley Brighter Beginnings Annual Meeting 2023. And I just realised this morning it's the 10th annual meeting that we've hosted. So that's been quite a few that we've done so far. And as you'll have seen when you came in, we are recording the meeting. So if there's anyone who, needs to leave early or anyone who, wasn't able to join us today, they can always catch up on the recording afterwards. So as usual, what we'll be doing is we will be giving you all an update on what's happened at BBB over the last year. So it's a snapshot really of what's happened during our last financial year. And just to make sure everyone is clear on what period we're talking about, our financial year that we're covering today is from the 1st of August 2022 to the 31st of July 2023. So that's all of the data that we're presenting today is from that 12-month period. So you'll be hearing from several of our volunteers who are all dealing with different aspects of BBB. And we're also delighted to welcome Samantha Britnell, who many of you will know from Bromley Children and Families Voluntary Sector Forum. She's the driving force, and we're really glad to have her here to talk today and to give an external perspective on BBB. If anyone's got any questions, do please put them in the chat, and I'll pick up on anything in there at the end. And also, as usual, if there's anything that anyone wants to contact us about outside of this meeting afterwards or whatever, you're always free to do so. It's great to hear from our supporters. We will be reminding everyone at the end of the various ways that you can get in contact with us should you need to do so. So I thought just to get things started, we would do a little quiz. Don't worry, it's not a test. It's just to sort of get an idea of what people think and to put the work that we're doing at BBB into a bit of context for you. So we've got a quiz that we're going to share on the screen. It's very quick, it's 4 questions. Just put your best guess answer into each of those 4, and I'll give you a minute or 2 to do that, and then we'll share the results at the end.
You see that okay? Has it popped up for people? Yeah, great.
I can't see it on my screen, but if everyone else
that's probably because you're the co-host.
Yeah.
I might be able to share the results of it with you when they've come up.
Okay, so has everyone filled in their answers then?
Not yet. It looks like there's people still answering, because I can see there's only 5 out of 14 people have been able to complete it yet.
To everyone.
So maybe just give them a little while.
Volunteer, you're welcome to have a go. As I said, it's not actually a test.
If you think you finished, then click submit, because I think that you need to do that, or whatever the last button is, to actually give in your answers. Looks like we've only got 9 people having done it, but maybe that's all that want to do it. Shall I?
Shirag's just joining. Should we just give him a minute to...
Hey, I'm in. Can you hear me?
We're in the middle. Yeah, we can hear you. Hello, we're in the middle of a quiz. Can you see the quiz? Do you want to have a quick
It did pop up. I panicked and I hit close because I wanted to see that.
No worries.
All right, don't worry. Okay. All right. So yeah, is there any way we can share the results?
Yeah, let's try that. Click share results, so you should be able to see. I can read them out for you if you like. So I will say, we had lots of different answers for the percentage of children in the London Borough of Bromley who are living in poverty, ranging from 5% as the lowest guess up to 40% as the highest guess. Do you want to comment on that?
Well, that's interesting, because that's somewhere right in the middle of that is about right. it's the percentage of children living in poverty in our borough. It was 20%. That's what we've still got on our website, I believe. But there was a Trust for London report fairly recently that indicated that it's now more like 24%. So it's about 1 in 4 children now. And that is lower than the average for London, but obviously it's still a lot of children. Okay, what about the second question? The percentage of children in poverty where at least one parent in the home works.
So again, we've had a variety of answers going from 42% up to 70% as the highest.
Interesting. Okay, interesting. Okay, it's actually 71%, which is often
higher
quite
than
high.
anybody guesses.
People think at least one parent is in work, but the family is still living. That's in work poverty. Demonstrated there. Okay, and then the third one, the 4 factors.
Families at risk of falling into poverty. Yeah, 73% of people said that being from a Black or minority ethnic group would put them at higher risk. 82 for lone parenting, 91 for being a survivor of domestic abuse, and only 64 for the parent being disabled. Interesting.
Okay, yeah, the answer is that all 4 factors are factors that put families at risk of being in poverty. 44% of children in lone parent families do live in poverty. Lone parents have obviously particular barriers, lack of an additional earner in the home, low rates of maintenance payments and additional childcare costs to cover. And the majority of them are women, so they also face gender inequality in employment and pay. Children from Black and minority ethnic groups, 48% live in poverty. And we're talking now about national statistics. It was only the first question that's specific to Bromley. We don't have these figures for our borough specifically. So this is a national average. So that's 48% compared with 25% of white British children. So that's almost double the risk. The third one, the link with domestic abuse. Poverty is associated with domestic abuse as both a cause, more likely to experience domestic abuse where there's poverty, and also a consequence of having been in an abusive relationship. And then the fourth point about disability, again, disability strongly connected with poverty. When you've got parents with disabilities, they often face multiple barriers to work. And then when there are families caring for a disabled child, they obviously have additional costs related to managing disabilities. So 36% of children in families where someone is disabled, whether that's the parent or the child, are living in poverty, compared to 25% of children in families where none is disabled, again as a national average. And the fourth question, the number of children exposed to domestic abuse.
So again, a big range. We've gone from 15% up to 50 as the top.
Okay, yeah, apparently it's about 20% is estimated. So about 1 in 5 children are thought to be exposed to domestic abuse. So out of a classroom of children, that's about 6. So, okay, thank you everyone for taking part in that thoroughly depressing quiz. But it does, I think, hopefully just put the work that we're doing into a bit of context. And on a much more positive note, I'd now like to highlight one of the big changes that's happened at BBB over the last year, and that is the fact that we now have a general manager, Amy Day, who's come in as a very welcome addition to the team and our very first member of staff, and I am delighted to introduce her to you now. Over to you, Amy.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Emma, for introducing me. So yes, I am Amy. I am BBB's first ever general manager. As you may already be aware, I started working with BBB back in May of this year. And so far, it's been a real incredible experience. It's been quite an exciting year for Bromley Brighter Beginnings, as this was the year that the charity took a big leap of faith and obviously appointed their first ever paid member of staff, which is me, followed shortly after by their second, Jenny, who is our grants and fundraising lead. This is quite a prominent moment for BBB as it demonstrates the real growth that we've had to date. As general manager, I liaise with the management team on all day-to-day decision making, It includes capturing and interpreting our data, which helps us lead on our communication and our fundraising projects. I work closely with our referrals manager, Kerry, who you'll meet in a little while, and I liaise with the referrers as well as organisations, supporters and individuals who contact us directly. Part of my role includes establishing, maintaining useful networking links with local and national organisations, and lead on the volunteering and community engagement projects for the charity. A large part of my role involves the coordination of our volunteers, which includes the training, development and support. As you know, we are predominantly a volunteer-run organisation. We currently have 40 volunteers actively working as part of our wonderful team. All of our volunteers are the heartbeat of Bromley Brighter Beginnings. Without them, we simply could just not do the things that we do. We're incredibly grateful for all the passion, the energy, and the dedication that each and every one of our volunteers shows to their roles. So as you can see on the slide, our team is made up of various roles, including our trustees, our day-to-day management and operations team, our comms and fundraising team, and our family liaison volunteers. We call them FLVs for short. So our FLVs are the ones who post out on our social media, predominantly Facebook. They request the items from our fantastic community of supporters. They source the items, and then they work out the logistics of getting those items donated out to the families that need them. We also have our stock coordinator, Mel. She works incredibly hard to keep our storage unit organised and accessible for our FLVs who are visiting it often and sometimes on a daily basis. We obviously are extremely grateful to Big Yellow Storage, who have kindly given us free storage space in Bromley for a number of years now. And it's here that we store all of our newborn packs, our baby clothes, and lots of other items. So Mel does an incredible job of keeping all the items in check with an inventory, and it's constantly being updated and communicated within our team. And then Kerry, who you're going to meet shortly, she is our referrals manager. She is a complete wealth of knowledge and experience within BBB. We often come to her for everything sometimes, or so it might seem for her. But Kerry oversees the day-to-day running of our referrals process for all of our campaigns. She forms all of our referral forms from scratch, and she coordinates all the details to make sure all the information is supplied correctly onto our database so that our FLVs can pick that information up. So our comms and fundraising team, they have seen a huge growth this year as we appointed 3 new volunteers within the team. This includes Anna A. We've got quite a few Annas, so we're now down to Anna A and Anna P. But Anna A is one of our comms and fundraising volunteers. She has been a fantastic new asset to the team, and she's led in creating some of our digital campaigns, especially for our school uniform launch that went across our website, our social media, as well as creating email marketing and leaflets. We've also really been lucky enough to have Jen join our team as a corporate fundraiser. She liaises with local businesses and explores the ways that they can support us. So Jen and the other members of our fundraising team, they attend various meetings to represent BBB, including Bromley business networking events, and also giving talks to various organisations. You can see from the slides, there's some photos there. We have our graphics and web designer, Karen. She is the creative flair behind BBB, and she creates all of our marketing and website campaigns. And she works really hard behind the scenes to create all the artwork needed, not only for our campaigns, but for BBB, whatever our needs may be. So every member of Team BBB plays a vital role in making Bromley Brighter Beginnings successful, in providing the support that some of our families so desperately need and rely on. So I'll talk to you a little bit now about our school uniform campaign. So in June this year, we launched our summer school uniform campaign. Last year, we received 125 referrals just for school uniform. And this year we saw an increase to 132. And sadly, we do expect that to rise year on year. With inflation and the cost of living eating into families' budgets, the affordability of school uniform, it remains a significant financial burden for so many people and families in the borough. And whilst some schools have had made commendable changes to reduce the costs, the positive trend is still not widespread enough. The average cost of primary school uniform for one child being £325 and secondary school at £481, with the cost of a logoed blazer averaging out at around £50 an item. As you can imagine, some families simply just cannot afford these high costs, which in turn we know has negative effects on the children and the parents. We know that children who are faced with having to wear worn or ill-fitting or incorrect uniform can feel alienated. That can lead to bullying, which then obviously has a lasting impact on their mental health, self-esteem, and obviously eventually their schoolwork. So having launched our campaign in early June, we received over 1,800 items of quality pre-loved school uniform. It was predominantly for primary school age children, and we saw large donations from school PTAs as well as individuals, and any items that weren't donated that we needed, we purchased from new. We supplied vouchers for all school shoes and trainers for both primary and secondary school children, as we believe that all children should have well-fitting new school shoes for their growing feet. And for some primary age children in particular, this would have been the first time and opportunity for them to actually have their feet properly measured in a shoe shop. We feel it's really important that teenagers have the opportunity to choose their own style of shoes, and it's even more important that they don't feel restricted to be able to do that. This year, we took the decision to purchase all secondary school items brand new, given the choice of various school bags as well, particularly for the girls. We know that teenage years are a challenging time, and allowing them to feel smart and proud of their school uniform while attending school and fitting in is a real importance at this crucial stage of their life. So we had a fantastic team of volunteers within BBB this summer. They worked tirelessly over the summer months to fill all of the referrals that came into us. We had a dedicated uniform hub in a large storage unit in Orpington, where all of our donated items were stored, they're packaged up, and eventually they were delivered or collected by our families at our nominated uniform collection days, and they took place in Bromley, Penge and Orpington. We had some really lovely feedback from the families, as you can see from the slides, and by supplying the families with the school uniform required for their children, it's eased that financial strain, the pressure, uncertainty and worry that they were facing. So I'll hand you over to Kerry, our referrals manager, and she will talk a little bit more about the other referrals BBB have received throughout the year.
Thanks, Amy. Hi, everyone. As Amy said, I'm referrals manager and I process all the referrals that the charity receives. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the referrals received by our service this year. It's been another very busy year for us. Demand increases for our service year on year, and this year demand has increased by 16.5%. We completed 658 referrals in the year compared to 565 in the previous year. Those 658 referrals were for 595 different families, providing items to 1,055 children across the borough. Some of these children would have been referred to us more than once throughout the year. As in previous years, the three areas in the borough that we received the most referrals for are Orpington, Annerley, Penge and Bromley. 27.5% of our referrals this year were for residents of Orpington. 23.5% were for residents of Annerley and Penge, including the Bromley and Croydon Women's Aid refugees. And 19.7% were for residents of Bromley. We completed 340 general referrals this year, which include items such as clothes, cots, buggies, toys and nappies. We fulfilled 126 referrals for beds, 60 referrals for white goods through our Healthy Homes campaign, and 132 referrals for uniform. These figures go up to our financial year end, as Emma said, which is 31st of July. And so the number of uniform referrals does not include the majority of the uniform referrals we received this summer, which we already know is a big increase. Our most requested item this year, as in previous years, were clothes, and we provided clothes to 175 families referred to us in the year. We provided 101 families with toys, 63 families with a newborn pack, which includes all the items needed for the first few weeks of a newborn, 71 buggies, 53 cots and cot beds, 31 Moses baskets, and we provided 12 basic bundles, which is a package of nappies, wipes, formula and toiletries that we provide for 3 months to families in exceptional circumstances. The basics bundle is over and above our usual offering, and we only provide these to families who have no other means of financial assistance. For example, families who have no recourse to public funds. We have had 157 new referrers to our service this year. We've seen a big increase in the number of social workers who refer to our service, with 29% of our new referrers being social workers. We have also seen an increase in the number of schools referring to us, and an increase in the number of referrals made to us by Citizens Advice for families who have no other professional support in their families. We've seen these kinds of referrals increase since the cost of living crisis, where families who were just about managing before and under the radar of any supporting organisations are now unable to make ends meet. As in previous years, we also continue to receive referrals from midwives, health visitors, GPs and family support workers from other organisations. 91% of the clients referred to us in the last year were single parent families, and 13% of the families referred to us were fleeing domestic violence. 17% of the clients referred to us were employed but unable to afford essentials for their children. Of the 83% of clients referred to us who were unemployed, 5% were awaiting a benefits application, 5% had no recourse to public funds, and the rest were receiving benefits as their only means of income. 91% of our clients in the year were reported to be socially isolated, demonstrating the families who have no one to turn to in time of need struggle the most. As we go into another tough winter, we expect the amount of referrals we receive to only keep increasing as families still struggle with their energy bills. Whilst our service is not designed to help with energy bills, we are responding to this extra pressure on families by providing extra items in the winter coats, blankets, hats, scarf and gloves, and items such as hot water bottles, as we know that sadly the reality is that some of the families referred to us cannot afford to turn their heating on. As demand for our service increases, we intend to do what we can as a charity to keep meeting this demand and providing the families referred to us with the essential items they need. And we know we are very fortunate that year on year we are in a position to be able to do this. That's all from me on referrals, but if you have any questions about any of this, please do ask at the end. And I will now pass you over to our lovely guest speaker, Samantha Britnell, from Bromley Children and Families Voluntary Sector Forum.
Wow, already struggled when I had to sit down and write, how I put into context what you guys do. And, I'm already, tearing up at the overwhelming work that you are doing. And I'm working on statistics that go back to the year before. It doesn't surprise me. So anyway, for those who don't know, I'm Samantha Britnell and I manage the Bromley Children and Families Forum. And for those of you who don't know us, we are a charity based in Bromley, serving children, young people and families that live across the London Borough of Bromley. And we work together with over 175 charitable organisations and community groups who also support children, young people and families living in Bromley. So we co-design, co-deliver and co-produce projects that meet the ever-increasing demand of the community, as well as a huge amount of signposting families to projects and opportunities such as BBB, providing a network of available support. We have worked with Bromley Bright Beginnings for many, many years and have always been so impressed with the dedication and selfless support of such a large group of professionals who are volunteers with their own lives, their own families, and meeting their own demands of their own work. That I'm simply gobsmacked at how you continue to grow and deliver an amazing service to those that need it. And in my experience, BBB is quite simply one of the most important charities in Bromley. So reactive and is such a lifeline to so many families. Bromley families are very proud, as we often give this outward impression of wealth and independence, but it's simply not reality for all those who live here. And it's hard to admit you need help for embarrassment and shame. But what BBB do is take that away by being discreet and kind, non-judgmental, and offering that very family feel. You are extremely supportive to each family, and so it supports to each families that need you, and that has been the feedback to us time and time again. Projects such as the Bed for Every Child has been an unimaginable lifeline to those who simply are unable to provide their children with the very most basic items and comfort. And this may start at a bed, but it is so much more than that for the families. The development of the 126 children who now have somewhere to sleep and can go to school after a good night's sleep sets each child up for every day ahead of what they're about to embark on within their own education and other issues within their lives. BBB has been so reactive to the increase in referrals, and as a borough we now have record-breaking figures with over 9,500 children with special educational needs and disabilities, up from 3,500 from the last consensus. We have the largest number of schools with school-aged children, as well as being home to the largest travelling community in Europe. We are third largest to have an ageing population of residents and the largest by land of all 32 London boroughs. And this simply means we have more vulnerable families in need than ever before. Within a city boroughs receiving millions of pounds of funding to meet needs, the out of boroughs are being reduced, and we simply cannot live without Bromley Bright Beginnings. If this support wasn't available, then we simply wouldn't be able to cope in the increase in need, and that is really that simple. So from all of those families supported, and as a representative of those families, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your hard work, your dedication and passion to help others. And thank you for being a lifeline to so many. And finally, thank you from me and my team for being part of the forum and being truly instrumental in changing lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. That was amazing. Thank you. So good of you to be here today, and it's lovely to hear those kind words and to sort of, just really sort of, underline the impact of what the volunteers do or the efforts that they make. I thank you. I think it's Chirag now to talk about the finances.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. Hi everyone, I'm Chirag, and I'm the treasurer and the trustee for the charity. I'm not sure who's controlling the slides, but could you move one forward, please? There we go, thanks. All right, so I would like to share 3 key achievements today on the financial side of our charity. The first point I'd like to talk a little bit about is how your donations are changing lives. Then I'll talk a little bit about accountability, and the final point I'll make will be on growth. So the donations that come in are making a world of difference to the local community. A lot of charities that are out there tend to help communities in many different areas, but we tend to be a sort of a very concentrated charity that seems to help people in our local communities, which is sort of our unique point. And one of the big achievements we've had this year is that we've spent a record number of funds, all the donations that we've received, over 100,000 right in the center of the screen there. If you can look at the slide, I'm on a little screen, so it's a bit small for me to read, but we've spent it on all sorts of very different critical areas to help and directly impact improving the lives of our local families in the area. So that's been great, and I believe I speak on behalf of all the trustees. We can't thank you enough for all the donations that are coming in, so thank you so much for that. The second point I want to make is on accountability. We've always been a small and nimble charity. It's been slightly over 10 years that we've been operational, and we've always grown from a grassroots perspective, with people donating to us individually. But one of the things that's changed this year is that we've, as Amy mentioned earlier on, Jenny's come on board, who's our fundraising lead. And you'll see a video from her a little later on in this presentation. And she's basically gone out and requested for a lot of corporate grants to help support the charity when we're low on funding to help the community. And it's really interesting because I never knew this before, but when you apply for corporate grants, you have to fill up pages of information, applications, supported with spreadsheets, financial information, up-to-date details. In some cases, we have to interview with the people, and we have to tell them, what the charity is doing, why we're doing it, and the way we're doing it. And they want to know, obviously, as they're donating funds and fairly large, significant funds, they want to understand how they can monitor our spending, who's spending it, why are they spending it, and how they can watch that spending as we move along. Because they sort of give us time limits in terms of, we're going to give you this money and you need to spend it by X amount of time. So it's very interesting to see that side of fundraising. And if you're wondering why does this matter to you, right? It basically puts us under a lot of scrutiny and a lot of diligence in terms of doing what we say we're doing, not just saying that we do all of this. And one of the things we've done as a charity this year, one of the key achievements on the accountability side is it's the first time ever we're going to publish SORP compliant accounts for our charity. And what does that mean for everyone? What that means is you'll have a more transparent and more trustworthy sort of views on our financial records, which will be standardized across a lot of the larger charities out there as well. Now, we're not required to do this just yet, but we're kind of opting in to do this now because we feel, it's the right thing to do. And as the charity is growing, which will be on my second point, we want to make sure that people have more trust in everything that we're doing. And it doesn't matter if you're donating £1 to the charity or much larger significant sums, everyone's going to benefit from that control and that transparency that we'll provide. The third and final point I want to mention before I hand over to Lorelei is growth. So I mentioned earlier that we've spent over £100,000 this year, nearly 150 plus on various aspects, and that's been our record spending year. What we also see is that there's a record amount of donations being made and grants being made to our charity. Just over 200,000 is what we made this year. And it's a clear signal that our donors and grant providers want us to expand our efforts and provide deeper impacts on those families that we're helping out. So what have we as trustees decided to do at the charity? Well, we've decided to go down the road of trying to make our services more sustainable and responsive to the needs of our local community. So how have we done this, right? I mean, Samantha just mentioned that we're the lifeline of the community, and Amy mentioned earlier that we're very much reliant on the SLVs or the volunteers that work for our charity. They are the backbone, and they are also the face to a lot of the families that need help. So we couldn't be where we are today without their help. And what the trustees have decided is we want to support those SLVs and those volunteers who support those families. Because if we support them with the right kind of help and abilities that they need, then they'll be able to go out and help out and touch those families in a more sort of meaningful way so that they can have a greater impact. So the first thing we did was, in recent months, as Amy mentioned, we hired our first set of part-time employees. And again, that was done to ensure that we have a consistent lifeline of support available, not just to our volunteers, but also to the families that need us. What does that really mean to everyone? I mean, a simple example I can think of is if you go to the Bromley Brighter Beginnings website and you go to a contact us page, now you will actually see a phone number on there. Previously, there was never a number out there. The only way you could get in touch with us was by email, and oftentimes a referral would have to contact us so that people don't just reach out to us randomly. having Amy on as a general manager and having phone lines now has helped us to say, we're available on call now if anyone needs us as well. Even though it's not 5 days a week, I believe it's only 2 or 3 days a week at the moment, but at least we have that option available, which sounds like a simple thing to have, but it's just there to show that some of the most basic things, even we're slowly getting up to speed on, and we are providing those services now. So yeah, thank you for all your help and support. And I will now hand it over to Lorelai, who will talk a little bit more about the Healthy Homes Project. Thanks.
Thanks, Chirag. That's great. I'm just going to move our slides on. My name's Lorelai, and I'm one of the trustees and a member of the management team. I'm sorry, I can't see everyone's faces because I'm screen sharing. So please do shout out if you want to ask a question or anything. I can't see anybody. I'm actually presenting on behalf of Elisa. So Elisa is our Healthy Homes coordinator and does an incredible amount of work behind the scenes, works at incredibly late hours, fitting it in alongside her other roles. And so number one thing I want to say when I'm making this little presentation is thank you to her, because she runs this project kind of single-handedly, really, linking in with other members of the BBB team, but really does an awful lot of work herself in processing the referrals that come in and in supporting the families and the referrers who are involved. So our Healthy Home for Every Child project supports families who can't afford to buy white goods and household appliances for themselves. And we provide a variety of items to households. I'll just show you a few of the figures from the last year, just to give you an idea of the sort of things we provide and the sort of scale that we're providing them at. So in this last financial year, then we provided 119 children, so across 68 households, with these appliances. So the most popular one out of all of them is washing machines. We've had a really high demand for washing machines. When we first started this project a couple of years ago, we didn't have washing machines on our list of appliances, but actually that was something that got asked about the most. Could we provide this? Did we provide this? I think people find it very expensive in terms of, especially with the raised cost of living, if they don't have a washing machine, to do things like to go to the laundrette, issues around kind of health issues, both for the people who are taking care of the children, parents or carers, and the children themselves. Sometimes mean that washing needs to be done more often. It can be difficult to get out to places like laundrettes, and things like school uniform are kind of one of those essentials that need to get washed. So that's absolutely been one of the main things that we've been asked for and been providing. Coming up close is the cookers. We provide gas and electric cookers depending on what's needed in the homes. And that's our most costly item, especially considering the installation side that's also required. But we do get quite a lot of requests for that as well, where people are not able to either replace a broken appliance, or they move into a house, often somewhere where they're rehoused, perhaps due to being relocated for domestic violence reasons, and that item is not provided, and the family have no means of purchasing such an expensive item. So that's where we come in. You can also see on their fridges, fridge freezers, smaller items like microwaves and slow cookers. Slow cookers are popular in terms of people being able to cook using small amounts of energy, and being able to sort of not have to stand at a stove, just put something on and leave it to cook. So that's something we'd like to encourage people to use more. But we in terms of the items which are delivered and installed, you'll see down the bottom there, Budget Appliances logo. They're our local partner providing these items, and I know Elisa would love me to say, and from her perspective, that they have been so helpful, such a great partner to work with. They go into families' homes and install the items. There's often a lot of toing and froing to figure out what exactly needs to be provided and how it's going to work in the space that's available. So So they are really fantastic in being flexible, in being discreet, in being understanding, in complying to the highest degree with all of the requirements around kind of safeguarding and confidentiality. So we're very grateful for the work that they do. We run this project on a kind of sort of enhanced referral process, in that we ask that referrers for these items have made a home visit to the families. For the big items, it's especially, you know, it's a large outlay of money, so we need to be sure that the need is current, and B, that it's going to be a feasible solution for the problem that the family's having. So we really rely on our referrers to assess the level of need, and to communicate with us about the best way to solve that problem for the family. So we're really grateful to the great big range of referrers that we work with. I understand from Elisa, in recent times it's been particularly social workers from London Borough of Bromley where we've been getting referrals from. We're really grateful for them, because obviously there's a lot of kind of to and fro involved on behalf of the families as well. So that's just a little snapshot of what the Healthy Homes project does. So I hope that's given you a flavour of what we do. I'm now going to hand it over to Nancy, who's going to talk to you about our Christmas in a Bag campaign.
Hi everyone, I'm Nancy. I'm one of the trustees, and I look after Christmas in a Bag, which is ironic because I'm not a massive fan of Christmas, but this is a really important project that's become a really sort of big part of BBB's offering and how we support families. For those of you who don't know what it is, we essentially at Christmas provide as much of Christmas as we possibly can in a huge bag for families. And there are lots of different items that we include in that. I guess some people might look at that project and think, okay, that's maybe one of the less necessary pieces because it's more about the sort of fun and joy of Christmas, but we don't really see it like that. We think that this, you know, other people have spoken already today about sort of dignity and the stigma of poverty and the sort of shame that's sometimes involved in that, particularly for children. And we really see this as a way of tackling that and making sure that families can feel normal and less stressed at a really difficult time of the year. If you could move on, Lorelei. We started this campaign a few years ago, and it used to be run out of my dining room and my kitchen, and we would have millions of tins of soup piled up, and we used to literally go around in a circle, a few of us holding a spreadsheet trying to work out what needed to go into each bag. And it's really evolved over the years into a sort of a much more, dare I say, professional effort. We've scaled up by about 1,300%. And so we started off doing this for a handful of families that we were working with frequently. And now it's become a thing where, you know, last year we tackled 664 children officially. I actually think it was closer to 700 because we get lots of last minute requests in. Sort of as late as Christmas Eve, we have gone and delivered these bags for families. Kerry, who is our amazing referrals manager that you heard from earlier, does all of the sort of referrals for this process. She sends me slightly sheepish text messages on things like the, you know, 23rd of December saying, please, can we just do 2 more? And it's very difficult to say no at that point of the year. So that scale, you know, it has ramped up so much. And I think this year, Kerry and I have a meeting after this session to talk about how far, you know, what numbers can we push this to potentially, because from our referrers, we are already getting significantly higher requests, you know, some referrers coming in and asking for sort of double the capacity that we've given them in previous years. And so we all know that things are really tough at the moment, and Christmas is a very difficult time, very expensive, homes that are freezing cold, food that is not there, and we just don't want this to be another thing that children have to contend with. If you could keep going, Lorelei. There are sort of 3 main groups of people who are driving the contents of these bags. Again, the word lifeline was used by Sam earlier, and this is one of those examples of a lifeline. It is very difficult for parents to sit there and think Christmas is coming and my children aren't going to get anything. it's very difficult to sit there and look at a 5-year-old thinking, okay, what do I say about Father Christmas not coming? And that's a very emotional way to put it, but that's the reality. And so in each of these bags, each child gets a couple of toys or vouchers for the older ones. They get a book. We really want to encourage reading in some of these households that maybe don't always own books. They also get a game, an advent calendar, some nice little bits like gold coins and, selection boxes. Every child gets a new pair of pajamas, a pre-loved Christmas jumper for those school Christmas jumper days. And then the family gets supermarket vouchers, a whole array of toiletries and other bits and pieces, because people very kindly pass on other random pieces that we can put into those bags. Over the years, the bags have become far more inclusive. So each bag is tailored to that family, whether that's about faith, their ethnicity, the gender, the size of the kids, and also whether they have special educational needs. So, for example, we make sure that Black families get the right shampoo for their hair. And I think that I'm sure that makes a big difference and shows that we're sort of putting more thought in and that family's been a bit seen. We've been hugely supported by local businesses, and we're so grateful for that support. The one that's always sort of the most emotional is our supporters, because you see people continually going onto our wish list and buying more and more and more things. It's incredibly kind and very humbling. I also want to say thanks to the referrers, because as the scale has grown, this has become extremely difficult to manage. We start this process in July. It becomes unbearable through October and November. It's so hard to do now because of the quantity of the staff. And those supporters coming and collecting those bags on that packing day has saved us. I don't know if you've ever seen, a couple of hundred huge bags. It's intimidating, and our cars aren't big enough to handle this on our own. So thanks so much to the people who have been helping us. Next slide, please, Lorelei. There is a really emotional response to this stuff, and we get incredibly warm, grateful messages. To us, this, as I said, it's about the sort of the shame and the stigma that those kids are experiencing, and we want to reduce that and remove it as much as we possibly can. But it's also about the dignity of the parents. We all know what it's like to sort of be stressed about the things, keeping life normal for our kids, and for some families that just isn't possible. And so we do get an incredibly emotional response for people, and we're feeding those families over that very expensive period. So these bags have huge impact on the people that we're working with. So thanks to everyone who's been supplying the contents of those bags this year. I think this year is going to be our most challenging by far, and everything that people have donated, whether it's one book or huge sums of money to sort of buy various different things, it's massively appreciated and is just bringing a little bit of joy to those families that need that dignity and that support. So you'll see more posts, wish list being announced soon. So if anyone on the call wants to help with that, it would be massively appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. We're moving on now to Mads. Did just say something about the beds?
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm the one responsible for spending all of that money that Chirag was talking about earlier. I started the Bed for Every Child, or proposed the Bed for Every Child programme back in 2017, when I told the trustees that I was working in a school where a lot of the children were very tired, and because I was working one-to-one, I could find out that they were tired because they didn't necessarily have a bed to sleep on, or they were sharing a bed with too many brothers and sisters. So I went to the trustees and said, what do we think? And we tentatively started it back in 2017, and last year we spent £59,000 buying 234 beds. So needless to say, there is a need in Bromley, which is very depressing considering we're one of the most affluent boroughs. And you wonder how on earth we can possibly have that many children without a bed. People, when we tell people that we provide beds, they can't believe it, because they say, well, everyone has a bed. but they don't. And I'm increasingly getting referrals from children who are sleeping on sofas, sharing a beds with parents or other children, sleeping on the floor. And then recently, I can't even picture this, but we had a number of children in the same room sleeping on black bags. And that to me is mind-blowing, that we're having to provide this service. But we're very lucky in Bromley that we're able to, because I think we're probably the only borough that can provide it. I work in the borough of Croydon in schools, and they have nothing like this. And of course, Croydon isn't an affluent borough like Bromley. So the number of children there who I work with one-to-one who are just exhausted, and they have brothers or sisters sleeping on the settee, and they say, oh, I didn't have a pillow last night because that brother had to have a pillow. It's reality. It is absolutely the reality of children. I spoke to a grandmother this week who was so grateful that I was buying beds. They hadn't asked for bedding. And I said to them, I'll buy bedding for the bed. It's fine. You know, we can easily do it. And she could not believe that we were able to do that. She's got a child who was a bedwetter, and they had been going around car boot sales trying to get waterproof sheets for their mattress so that they didn't have to keep having this mattress that was wet every day. And and for us to be able to buy waterproof protectors is really easy. So I was able to order 3 of those and several sheets and have them sent to her, and she was just thrilled. So the impact that the Bed for Every Child campaign is making is absolutely huge. And because I'm working with these families week in, week out, it's very easy for me to convey how grateful people are and how much the need is absolutely there. We're not just seeing bed referrals because of poverty. More and more, we're seeing bed referrals because children are breaking beds. ADHD seems to be, and ASD, are very common amongst the families that we have referred to us. And we have got some very strong children out there with some very difficult things that they are dealing with. So we do see people breaking beds, not because they're deliberately doing it, but these children can't help it. So we're providing often repeat beds. Bedwetting, again, enuresis, a huge issue. So replacing mattresses, but luckily, because I can speak to these people and work with these families, I can provide specialist mattresses, waterproof mattresses, which is a game changer if you've got a child who wets the bed, because the bed can be wiped down. People are leaving beds behind in houses that they're having to flee. Obviously, if you have to leave a house because of domestic violence, you're not going to start collapsing beds and hiring a van. You just got to get out of there. So for occasionally, we are providing beds for that. Parenting difficulties as well. I'm sure many of our referrers on this call will understand that parenting is really difficult for some people. And to have control of your children can be really difficult. And I know they work very closely with parents to help them with their parenting skills. So maybe they can't stop their children jumping on the bed to break them. And we work really closely with referrers to make sure that our funds aren't wasted by continuously replacing beds. And we just, work with them to make sure that parents are understanding that the item they've been provided with is expensive. You've seen how much money I spent on beds each year. So yeah, we work with them closely. Bedding is our other big spend. I spend about £6,000 a year on bedding, but it's not just a case of, here, have any bedding I can get a hold of. I'm very aware. I'm a parent of a child with SEN myself, and I'm aware that children don't like textures, feelings, can't cope with certain patterns and colours. So I always speak to the parents to find out what kind of bedding their child can cope with, and have that. We order that brand new and have that sent directly to the parents. Just finally, before I move on, hand over to the next person, I want to say thank you to Beacon Beds. We work super closely with Beacon Beds. Len is independent trader. I trust him. I know that when he phones one of our clients, he's definitely going to be polite, respectful, understand that people go on school runs, that people have hospital appointments. Some of our families can't even answer a phone to somebody, so he'll text them instead. And that respect that we have from a supplier is absolutely important to us, because we need to have that respect for our clients, and we need to make sure our providers do that. And I'm so grateful to Bacon Beds that they are able to help us in that way. And he will pop round to someone's house if they're not sure what kind of bed they can fit in the room, or if he delivers a bed and it hasn't worked out, he will go and get that bed and provide a different solution. So I feel like we're providing a brilliant service to our clients, and I'm so grateful to our grant providers, and of course the people who apply for grants in Bromley Brights Beginnings, Jenny, because we get so much money that I'm able to then go out and spend on beds for families. So thank you very much for your time today. I'm going to hand over now, I believe, to Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny can't be with us, but she has sent us a video, so I'm hoping Zoom will allow me to play this for you. Hopefully you will be able to hear the sound in this.
Hi, my name is Jenny and I am a grants and fundraising lead for Bromley Brights Beginnings. I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to tell you about some of the amazing funding that we've received over the last financial year. We have been so lucky this year to receive our biggest ever grant by far from Global, who run radio stations such as Capital and Heart. We applied for a smaller grant, and we were absolutely blown away to be given a cheque for £60,000 towards our Bed for Every Child campaign, which will cover the costs of the beds we supply for children around the borough for an entire year. Bed for Every Child is our most costly campaign, and this has greatly eased the pressure on finding funding, and has allowed us to direct our funds to other projects and essentials which we might not have been able to do before. So this has been incredible. We have also received grants from lots of other grant making trusts and funds, such as the Edward Gosling Foundation, the Light Fund, the Doughty Family Foundation, the National Lottery, the B&Q Foundation, to name a few, alongside generous donations from organisations who are always extremely supportive of our work, such as local Rotary clubs. These donations we've been able to use to pay for school uniform, to pay for items for our newborn packs, to pay for things like buggies if we haven't been able to get them second hand. So it all allows us to basically do what we do. We are hugely grateful to all of the organisations who have helped to fund our projects this year, as well as the individual fundraisers, the schools, the clubs, the teams who have run events and raised sponsorship for us. A special mention to our 5 runners who took part in the London Landmarks Half Marathon in April. They were brilliant and they raised thousands of pounds for us. We still have 3 places available in next year's race. If anyone is up for the challenge, please do get in touch. We have also actively sought out and secured grants from the Garfield Weston Foundation, the Albert Hunt Trust, and we received an extra £5,000 from Global, which has helped us to cover the costs of employing Amy and myself in our new paid roles, meaning the rest of our funds can go directly where they should go, to the families that we help. We simply couldn't do what we do without all of this invaluable funding. So just a huge thank you from me to everyone who has supported us this past financial year, and who continue to do so. Thank you.
So that was Jenny. Thank you to Jenny for that video. Thank you, Lorelei, for playing it and for managing the slides throughout. We are exactly on 3 o'clock. Thank you to everyone who's presented and spoken. Sam, did you want to just come in and say something?
Yeah, just whilst you were talking about your incredible Christmas initiative, along with all the other initiatives, I mean, I'm truly blown away. You rock, you absolutely rock. So just to let you know, just an update from us. So our Santa Run will take place on the 2nd of December, and that is the campaign where we raised the funds and support from a grant funder for us. And then a friend of ours, Gary, who owns the Entertainer Toy Store, shuts the store down and lets us go and spend thousands and thousands of pounds on toys. You are always more than welcome, and always a great organisation for us to support in that campaign. So just to give you a bit of planning of the time, please do send me, when we send the link out next week, do send me perhaps the list of things, you know, if you've got any specific items. I know some of the families, particularly those that have special interests, so young people who may only want a blue something or a red something, or do you know what I mean? You know, we're dealing with children with complex needs. Very often we have to get very specific items. So please let me know that. And we would love to try and, you know, reach that target for you of the amount that you know, you need to give out. So keep it in your planning when you have your meeting next, so that you know, perhaps we can tie that in, and when you can come to get it, and that will be on the 2nd of December.
Thank you, Sam. That's great. We will definitely be in touch. Okay, that's lovely. Yes, thanks again to everybody presenting today. We've got lots coming up in the pipeline for this current financial year as well. On the screen, you'll see there's just a summary of some of the ways that you can support us further if you'd like to do so. And I just wanted to also flag up particularly that we are planning our first community day for Easter, which is a supporter engagement sort of event that we're planning. So just to flag that up, there will be lots more to come on that in the near future. We will be promoting it on our Facebook group and on our website, so we'll be in touch with everyone about that. Thank you all for listening. We have got, just to finish this off, we've got a few slides, 3 slides, I think, with some quotes from our lovely volunteers about what they love about BBB, you know, why they do what they do, and give all of this time and this passion, this energy, you know, that everyone's talked about, why they do it. The power of the community has always been at the heart of Bromley Brighter Beginnings. That's why it's so important to us that we do these annual meetings, to sort of, you know, make sure our supporters know what we've been doing and how much we appreciate your support. And also on behalf of the trustees, I always like to take the opportunity to thank our volunteers as well for everything that they do. We really do appreciate everything that everyone does. It's an amazing effort from the team for another year. So thank you very much. And we'll see you again next year.